Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to get into the real art of Scrum facilitation. We're moving way beyond the textbook to figure out what actually, truly drives high-quality outcomes for your team.
So let's just start with a question that seems super simple, but the answer, well, it's a lot more complex. What does a successful meeting actually look like? I mean, is it really just about ending on time?
And this is where it gets really interesting. This core idea from our source material, it basically flips a very common assumption on its head. The clock isn't the judge of success. The results are. It's a complete reframing of how we should even think about our time together.
Okay, so if it's not about finishing right on the dot, what are we aiming for? Let's dig into the real measures of effective facilitation and what success actually feels like when you're in the room.
Think about your last retrospective. Did it feel a little uncomfortable, maybe even a bit frustrating? Well, it turns out that's not necessarily a sign of failure. In fact, those feelings can be a huge signal that you're finally tackling the real thorny issues instead of just, skating on the surface. And this, right here, this is the real goal. See, success isn't about everyone walking out feeling happy and fuzzy. No, it's about leaving that room with a shared understanding, a clear sense of alignment, and this is the most important part, concrete, actionable decisions that are actually going to make things better. That's the outcome we're chasing.
This brings us to a huge idea, and one that busts a pretty common myth. This belief that one single person is responsible for guiding every single team meeting.
Okay, so here is a classic misconception, and it's directly challenged by the Scrum framework itself. We often think of the Scrum Master as the facilitator for everything, but honestly, that can create a serious bottleneck. The reality is the developers are meant to own and run their own daily Scrum.
In fact, facilitation is a skill the entire team should be building. Any team member can, and frankly should, feel empowered to lead a discussion with stakeholders to get some early feedback. You don't need to wait around for a formal event or go through one single person. This kind of distributed ownership, that's a sign of a really healthy, mature team.
So if anyone on the team can just step up and facilitate, what guides them? Well, it's not about following some rigid script. It's really about orienting around a set of core principles that keep any discussion productive and on track. These 5 principles are your foundation. Think of them like a compass. They make sure that no matter who's leading the discussion, it stays inclusive, it stays focused on a clear goal, and it follows a logical path to a valuable outcome. Let's just zoom in on one of these for a second. Being participatory is not just about letting people talk. It's about actively, intentionally creating a space where every single perspective is heard and valued, especially from the quieter folks in the room. It's about getting the best ideas out on the table, not just the loudest ones.
Okay, principles are great, but how does this stuff actually work in practice? Especially when you're in the middle of a totally chaotic brainstorming session.
Oh, we've all been there, right? The whiteboard is just a sea of sticky notes, ideas are flying all over the place, and there is no clear path forward. It's exciting, but man, it can get overwhelming fast. This is exactly where specific facilitation techniques become your absolute best friend.
A really powerful technique like affinity mapping can turn that chaos into total clarity. By having the team silently group all the related ideas, you let these natural themes just emerge from the group's collective brainpower, and it avoids that classic trap of 1 or 2 people dominating the entire conversation.
And listen, it is absolutely crucial to use the right tool for the job. You wouldn't use a hammer to turn a screw, right? Same idea here. Techniques like Roman voting or Fist of 5 are designed to help a group reach a decision, and fast. But something like a gallery walk is purely for sharing information and getting feedback. It's not a decision-making tool. Using the wrong one, well, that's just a recipe for frustration.
All right, let's talk about facilitation when the pressure is on. What happens when things go off the rails and the stakes are really high?
So, imagine this. You're halfway through a sprint, things are humming along, and a key stakeholder shows up with a brand new, urgent request. The team's first instinct might be to just jump into problem-solving mode or maybe start voting on whether or not to do it.
But hold on. A great facilitator guides the team back to the single most important question first. Before we even talk about how to do this new work, we have to ask, does this put our sprint goal at risk? The number one job is to protect the team's commitment, not just to accommodate every shiny new request that comes along.
And in the most extreme case, like when the sprint goal just becomes totally obsolete, the rules are crystal clear. The decision to cancel a sprint, that rests only with the product owner. It's an executive decision. It's not something that needs a team vote or a long, drawn-out meeting.
So when you boil it all down, the crucial point is that great facilitation isn't about memorizing 100 different techniques or following some rigid script. It's really about a fundamental shift in mindset.
It's really the difference between just managing a calendar and actually leading a team toward a shared, valuable outcome. It's about moving from that rigid, process-driven view to one that's flexible, empowering, and completely, totally focused on results.
And that leaves us with one final thought to take back to your team. The next time you finish a meeting, don't just ask if you ended on time, ask if you achieved a valuable outcome. What are you really measuring? And what does that say about what your team truly values?